Alright guys, welcome back. This will be our third video tutorial for the retro game design series. In this tutorial, we will actually go over how to create code from scratch that can control our players. So we will actually be able to control our player movement for this Pong character, and the second one using the script that we created inside of Unity. Now, Unity uses two different coding languages. It uses both C# and JavaScript. Both of them work relative in kind of the same way. They both have similar terminology, and it's actually very easy to cross between them and go from using JavaScript to C#. Now, C# is the more widely used version of the coding language, for coding development, I should say, for game design. But JavaScript is also used to some extent. I actually start off with JavaScript in my courses to introduce people slowly to coding, and that's mainly for those who've never done it before. So if you've never done any coding before, this is for you. So to start off, I am just going to play the game that we made last time just to see where I left off at. So as we can see here, we got this Pac-Man guy moving up. That okay? I'm really bad at this. Can I win? Okay, not doing bad. Not doing that bad. Maybe I can. Okay. Forget this. I'm here to teach. I am not here to play this game because I will lose to myself very badly. Now, with that brief distraction out of the way, let's actually get to it. Now, the first thing we need to do when we're actually going to be doing coding, we actually need to create our new a new code for us to be able to utilize, a new script for us to be able to utilize. So we're gonna go right click in your project browser here. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna go to create, and we're gonna start with a JavaScript for starters, just because I like the terminology they use in JavaScript for beginners more than C#. Now in later lessons we're actually going to get into C#, and you'll see that there's literally no difference aside from the way they place some things and the order in which some terms are being placed. But for now we'll start off very simple and we'll go to JavaScript. So I'm going to click JavaScript, and now I'm going to name this custom player underscore movement, like this. And now when I name this, on the right hand side on the inspector, you'll see it says Pragma script and all this good stuff here. We're actually going to go into it we're going to click on, you can do it one of two ways. You can double click on this script, or you can click the open button. For now, I'm going to double click on this script, and this will open up our coding programming API called MonoDevelop. I will go more into what an API is and everything else later on, but first I'm just going to get you guys coding and get you guys making some cool stuff on your own. So this right here is our JavaScript file that we just created. Now whenever you create a JavaScript file, you're always met with three things. First, the top line is the pound sign pragma strict. Never get rid of this. This is what JavaScript uses to tie in, make a simplified version of JavaScript that easily works with Unity. Also, just a little side note, I might switch between saying Unity and Unreal. I know both engines and they both start with a U, and that sometimes gets a little bit mixed up in terms of words. So if I do say Unreal, for this tutorial, this is a Unity based class, so I will only be going over Unity stuff. I will not touch Unreal. Just have to get that out there, because I feel like I'm probably going to say it again. Now, you have pragma strict, which you never get rid of. That is how Unity interact with JavaScript. This is a very simplified version of JavaScript that works very well with Unity. And this is the magic that ties everything together. On line 3, you have something called a function start. And now what this does is this function is something that will activate when when it's triggered. The start call right here is saying, hey, when the game starts, I want you to do whatever is within these curly brackets. So if I say when the game starts, I want to print the word hi, I can do that. And then when I start the game, the word hi will be printed to the screen or the console. But for now, we're going to go over the next function update. This function update is basically a function that's called every frame. Now, Unity actually works in time measurement that's different from the way that we have time in real life. In real life, we have time measured in seconds. But in Unity, they measure time in frames. They're the way you can convert those frames to seconds, and we'll go over that later on. But what you basically need to know to differentiate a frame from a second is a frame is basically one image, and you can think of Unity as each every second that goes by is doing at least 24 images. So one after the other. So if I were to pause this, can I do it this way? If I were to pause it and click this next frame button, you'll see that each frame is a new image. And Unity is always rapidly calculating each frame and reacting to the scripts. Like so. So that's what that is. But enough with the talk about functions and everything. Let's actually talk about how we can get our code to work and make this player move using this script that we created. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to go over to this whiteboard I have right here on my computer that says welcome. And welcome to lesson 3. And let's see how big my eraser is. I'm going to erase all this stuff. Now, to start off with recording, we need to create what's called a variable. Now, what a variable is you can think of a variable as a container box that stores information about basically any information you want. So you can use this container, and you can tie the container, this variable container, to the word pi. Now, whenever you actually write the word pi in your coding, any code later on, pi is always going to equal whatever is inside this box. So if pi is equal to an actual pi, then every time you call the word pi in your when you're coding, you won't actually see a picture of the pi, but as an example, it will always draw whatever is inside this container box. So a more realistic version of this is, say you want the variable pi to actually contain a number. We can use this variable pi, this variable, and contain a number 3 for pi. So whenever we want to get what is the result of pi plus 3. This word pi is basically a substitute for the word 3. So 3 plus 3, and the answer would be 6, like this. If we were to change this to be, instead of 3, we would change it to be an integer. I probably misspelled that. Integer of 5. Then now pi plus 3 is going to be, instead of equal to 6, it's going to be equal to 8. So all this variable does is just contains information about what this object is supposed to be. Now, whenever you start a Unity project, you always want to make define variable for anything you might need. Now, that might be a little bit like, I don't know what I would need, but I'll explain it a little bit better. So, for this code we have now, we currently have a pragma strict. We have a couple of functions. I'm going to actually make the function down here. And we have our function down here. Now, one variable, another very good thing about variables is that variable can actually be called inside the editor. So for instance, in the last tutorial, we had our Pong movement, and this variable right here for move up controls, we can actually access it in the editor and change it on the fly. So that's one very big benefit of variables. They're actually editable inside of our engine, which makes our job a lot easier after we've done all the coding. So a more practical version for what this variable will do is, to program our Pong game, we need to actually create a variable to control movement, or the direction we want to move. So for this, we will create a variable called, we're going to name this variable move up. And what we want this variable to do, we want this variable to access a key on our keyboard. Well, a key. It could be on a keyboard, it can be a gamepad key, it could be any key. But basically, a key is just an input. So we want this variable to access an input. Here we go. Here's the erase. So the way we create this variable, and once we make this variable, we're going to tie this variable to control the way our character moves up and down. And you'll see what I mean by that as we continue further into this lesson. So to translate this into something that Unity can understand is, we're going to type go. Underneath the pragma strict, we're going to type in var, var for variable, the name of the variable, and the name of it is going to be move up. And we're going to assign this variable this colon sign right here is how we assign things. So we're going to assign the variable move up to be a key code, and we will end this line of code, which is called a statement, by using a semicolon, and that ends our statement. And I'll just erase this stuff. Now the way we know we need to get a key code is because we want to be able to actually edit our key in game. Now you can actually create this entire thing without creating a variable for move up, but it speeds up our workflow and saves us a lot of trouble by being able to edit things on the fly. The main reason for that is because we have two characters here. Now you can hard code in a key code, assign this player one movement to be a key code of I or W, and whenever you press the W or I key, the character will move up. The only issue is if you have more than one player, Having that same script on this second object won't work out as well for you, because when you press I or W, both characters will move up instead of one. So making a variable that you can access inside of Unity for move up, making it a key code, saves us a lot of time, because we can easily create a universal script and then attach it to different objects or different keys. So the first variable we created is called move up, and that is a key code, and we end this statement by this semicolon, which ends the statement. Like so. I'm going to erase at least this part here. Now, with that done, we actually need to tell Unity what we want this variable to control. So for that, we need to create what's called a if statement. An if statement. Now, this statement is actually pretty simple. Let me erase this right here. Clear out some more space in this workboard or whiteboard we have. Now, an if statement is, think of it as if I give you an apple, if I give you an apple, then you will say thank you. All an if statement is you take one value, which is called our parameter. So if I were to give you an apple, this would be a parameter. And a parameter is basically just a set of conditions. Cool. So if I give you an apple, then whatever you have inside the if statement will be what will happen if this statement is actually true. It will say, if you get the apple, then you'll say thank you. So if this parameter is equal to true, you will say thank you. That's the simplest way to think about it. If statement is, if something happens, then there will be a result. Let me erase this stuff here. So, with that done, we're going to create our if statement under function update. And the reason we want to do under function update because we want this if statement to be checked every single frame that Unity is running. So function update, we're going to leave the parentheses, create open and close parenthesis. Now we're going to have a curly bracket. Now this open curly bracket, we're going to have open curly bracket and a closed curly bracket. Now what these curly brackets are is basically a statement block. So if one line of code is a statement, then this right here, everything inside here will be a lot of lines of code, and it will create like a blocks of statements. And what this function update does is it just reads the statement block and executes the command from there. executes all the statements inside of that block. So in this function update, we're going to do if our parameter is inside the parentheses. So if we're going to get an input, and an input is basically any key on the computer, we're going to put this dot here. Now what this dot does is basically, you can think of it as Unity's way of kind of opening a door. So the input will be our first door. So you open this door and you go deeper into the house or the code, and then you're going to get key. Like that. Now, once you do get key, we're going to actually add in another parenthesis. And this parenthesis, we're going to actually pull in our variable that we created. So, if input.getKey equals to move up, well, if input.getKey is move up, now we're going to close this up. We're going to do a double parenthesis here. And the reason we're doing double is because we want this to open our statement, open this move up grab, and this to close that, but then we also want to close this parameter or condition for this statement. So if the condition is met, we're going to do the curly bracket again. We want to execute anything inside of this statement, this if statement, if this is correct. And the function update always has to have a curly bracket at the end of that as well. So if this is correct, then we're going to execute our script to move character up or down. Now I'm going to first write all this out on this whiteboard I have, quote unquote whiteboard I have, and then we're actually going to model, develop, and code it for ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're first going to get a component. And then we're going to put a dot here. Then after you get the component, you're going to put a dot. You're going to do a greater than sign. And you're going to find the component called rigid body 2D. Then put a less than sign. Actually, sorry, this was a less than sign. This is a greater than sign. And you're going to do open and close parenthesis, and you're going to put dot. Now what this does is it knows it's telling the statement to look for a component. And then it's telling us to use this component. After that, we are going to get the velocity information of this rigid body 2D. So after we've opened, so first we get the open and door for get component. After we went inside that, we're going to get the rigid body 2D component of the object. After that, we're going to get the velocity, which is hidden inside the rigid body 2D. Like that. Now I'm going to have to erase. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit. I can. Cool. If you're wondering what I'm using a program called Adobe Photoshop as my whiteboard. Quick and easy way to get things done, in my opinion. A little messy here, so let me just clean that up a little bit. Okay, so after we found the velocity, we are going to actually get our vector information. So first we get the component, the rigid body 2D component, and the velocity. Now we want to get our vector information, which it will be y. Like that. And that will be, and I'm going to circle back to what this vector information y is in a little bit. But next we're going to put this equal sign here. Now, in coding, this equal sign does not actually mean equal to. It means assigned to. So we're going to assign this information right here to be a value of 5. And then we're going to close that statement by putting a semicolon there. Always remember to close each statement. And then that will be the end of this first block of code in this first statement block. So with that done, we're going to go into MondeVelop. We're going to type all this out, and then I'm going to come and circle back to what this y means and what vector means. So I'm going to stop trying to erase that. I'm going to go in here. So this is Unity. I'm going to go double click on this script, open back up MondeVelop, and then we're going to start by, on line 2, I'm going to press return 2 times, go to line 3, and just type in var move up colon key code. And you'll notice that when you type in key code, you'll get this. I'll explain why it changes colors in a little bit. For now, we'll continue on with what we just wrote. So variable move up is assigned to key code. Now what I'll do is I'm going to start an if statement. I always like to keep things spaced apart a little bit, but you don't have to if you don't want to. We're going to do input dot get key, open parenthesis, and move up. Like that. Open and close the curly bracket. I'm going to do get component dot widget body 2D dot velocity dot y is assigned to the number 5, and we'll close that statement. Cool. With that done, we're going to save this. And you can go to File and Save, or press Control S on a PC and Command S on a Mac. I've already saved this, so we're good to go. So I'm going to go minimize this. I'm going to click on this object here, and I'm going to go add component. I'm going to add in custom player movement. And now, when you add that custom player movement in, you'll see that we have a variable for move up, and none, and we can actually assign it to the letter W. And now I'm going to disable this Pong player movement, and I'm going to check this console right here to make sure there are no errors in my code. There are no errors here, which is perfect. If there was an error, you would see a little red line down here, but right now I only see yellow, and I can ignore that. So with that done, we're gonna do click play and just make sure this first one works. Cool, it works. So now I can go up, but I cannot go down. Let's solve that issue. Now, I'm going to go back to the whiteboard and explain a little bit more about the vector, and then we'll go into another type of conditional statement. Now, if is one of many conditional statements you can have. There's another one we're going to use today, and that will be called an else if statement. So first, let me erase all of this stuff, and I want to explain vector. Cool. Hey guys, so we're gonna actually cut this video and make this a two-parter instead of making one very long video. Well, even longer than it already is. Now in this first video we went over how to make a variable, what a variable is, and just a lot of basic coding stuff such as the if statement. Next video I will actually get back and explain to you what a vector is, and we'll also finish up this Pong movement script so we can get our players moving the way we want them to. Alright, so stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks. See ya.